You have done it before. Someone close to you died, and you did not know what to do with your hands. You stood there in a room full of people and felt something ancient move through you, something that had no name, something older than language. That feeling is not grief. Grief comes later. This is something else entirely. This is the part of you that remembers. For most of human history, death was not handled by strangers in black suits. It was not whisked away behind closed doors. It was not sanitized, scheduled, or outsourced to professionals you would never see again. Death happened in front of you, and your ancestors had to figure out what to do next. What they did next will change how you think about every funeral you have ever attended, every grave you have ever visited, every strange, irrational urge you have ever felt to leave flowers somewhere, or light a candle, or sit quietly beside something that can no longer hear you. The story starts roughly 300,000 years ago, maybe earlier. Archaeologists working in a cave system in South Africa called Rising Star made a discovery in 2015 that shook the field. Deep inside a chamber so narrow that only the smallest researchers could squeeze through, they found the bones of Homo naledi, a species with a brain roughly one third the size of yours. And those bones were not scattered. They were not dragged there by predators. They were placed deliberately, carefully, in a location so difficult to reach that the only plausible explanation, according to paleoanthropologist Lee Berger, who led the excavation, was that someone carried them there on purpose, a creature with a tiny brain burying its dead. This is the part where your assumptions about ancient humans begin to crack. You have been taught quietly and persistently that ritual and meaning are products of intelligence. The more primitive the mind, the more indifferent to death, that your ancestors, the further back you go, cared less, felt less, understood less. But the bones and rising star suggest something uncomfortable, something that forces a different question entirely. What if caring for the dead is not a sign of advanced civilization? What if it is something far older, far more instinctive? What if it is simply what humans do? Move forward in time. About 100,000 years ago, in a cave called School on the slopes of Mount Carmel in what is now Israel, archaeologists found something buried alongside a human skeleton, a lower jaw of a wild boar, placed deliberately in the arms of the dead. Nobody put that jawbone there by accident. Someone chose it. Someone thought about what should go with this person into whatever came next. And 60,000 years ago in the Shanidar Cave in Iraq, a Neanderthal burial site was excavated by archaeologist Ralph Selecki in the 1950s. The soil around the skeleton contained dense clusters of pollen, flower pollen, from at least 8 different species, many of them plants still used in traditional medicine across the region today. Someone laid flowers on a Neanderthal grave. Selecki called his book about the discovery Shanidar, the first flower people. Later researchers debated whether the pollen arrived by wind or by burrowing animals. The debate has never been fully resolved, but the image it produced, a community gathering plants and laying them beside someone they had lost, has never fully left the field of archaeology either. Because even if the flowers were not intentional, the grave was. The body was not left where it fell. It was moved. It was placed. It was marked. That is the thing that keeps coming back across every culture, every continent, every time period researchers have examined closely. The body is never simply left. In ancient Egypt, the dead were prepared for a journey so elaborate that it consumed years of planning and entire industries of craftspeople. The Book of the Dead was not a book about death at all. It was a guidebook for what came after, a manual for navigating eternity. In ancient China, Bronze Age burial sites reveal servants, horses, and chariots buried alongside rulers, not as decoration, but as provision. The dead were expected to need things where they were going. In the highlands of Sulawesi in Indonesia, the Torajan people do not consider a person dead until the funeral rituals are complete, which can take months or years. During that time, the body is kept in the family home, fed symbolically, spoken to, included in daily life. Anthropologist Nigel Barley documented this in the 1980s and described it as one of the most disorienting and eventually one of the most logical things he had ever encountered. The dead are not gone, they are simply in transition. And in Tibet, sky burials have been practiced for centuries, where the body is carried to a high place and offered to vultures, not abandoned, offered. There is ceremony, there is intention, there is a priest, a ritual, a meaning given to every part of what happens. Every culture that has ever been studied by anthropologists has a word for what you do with the dead, every single one. That is not a coincidence. That is biology wearing the costume of culture. Psychologist Thomas Addig, who spent decades studying grief, argued that what humans do after death is fundamentally an act of meaning making. The body must go somewhere. But more than that, the story must go somewhere. The relationship must be transformed rather than simply ended. You cannot just stop. That is the thing. Your brain, the one you are using right now to process these words, is the same kind of brain that placed bones in the back of a cave 300,000 years ago. It is built to attach, it is built to track the people it loves. And when one of those people disappears from the world, the tracking system does not simply switch off. It looks for somewhere to put the signal. That is what a grave is. That is what a funeral is. That is what a memorial is. It is not really for the dead. It never was. It is a place for your brain to send the signal it no longer knows where to direct. Anthropologist Barbara King, in her book Evolving God, examined the evidence for grief and mourning across species and concluded that the capacity for profound social loss, the kind that changes behavior and demands a response, predates modern humans by millions of years. Elephants return to the bones of their dead and touch them with their trunks. Chimpanzees carry the bodies of their infants for days after death, sometimes weeks. Dolphins have been observed supporting the bodies of dead companions at the water's surface. None of them have funerals, but all of them have something. And what they have, what you have, what the small brained creature in the rising star cave had, is an inability to simply walk away. The rituals change, the beliefs change, the flowers, the fires, the prayers, the sky burials, the embalming, the cremation, the burial at sea. All of it changes across time and geography and culture, but the impulse does not change. Something in you insists that death requires a response, that it cannot simply happen, that there must be a moment, a gesture, a gathering of the people who knew this person, a deliberate and conscious acknowledgement that someone was here and now is not. That insistence is ancient. It is possibly the most ancient thing about you. Think about the last time you attended a funeral or a memorial, or even just heard that someone you knew had died. And think about the first thing you wanted to do: call someone, tell someone, gather, be with people who also knew them. That impulse, that pull toward collective acknowledgement, is the same pull that brought a community of Homo naledi into a narrow cave in South Africa, carrying the body of one of their own. You are doing the same thing they did, just in a different room. Tonight, when the sun goes down and the world gets quiet, you might find yourself thinking about someone you have lost, and you might feel that strange, unnamed thing again. That feeling with no word in it. Now you know what it is. It is 300,000 years of your species refusing to walk away.